Water is life. But in Nigeria, a country already grappling with infrastructural challenges, a shocking revelation by the World Bank has exposed how corruption drained $32 million meant for improving water systems. Welcome to EDM News, where we bring you in-depth coverage of global issues. Today, we're diving into this alarming case of embezzlement, its implications, and what it reveals about the fight against corruption in development projects. The revelation came from the World Bank's recently released Fiscal Year 2024 Sanctions System Annual Report. This report exposes corruption and financial misconduct within Nigeria's water sector, where $32 million, intended for crucial water infrastructure projects, went unaccounted for. This isn't just a financial scandal. It represents a betrayal of public trust in a sector that affects millions of lives. The discovery of corruption. The investigation was spearheaded by the World Bank's Integrity Vice Presidency, or INT, a department tasked with ensuring transparency in projects funded by the institution. While reviewing risks associated with Nigeria's water project, INT uncovered glaring financial irregularities. Funds that were meant to improve access to clean water were diverted through corrupt practices. Here's a breakdown of the missing funds. $22 million was flagged and subsequently demanded for reimbursement by Nigeria's central bank. $6 million remained undisbursed but was closely monitored to prevent further embezzlement. The rest of the project's funds were earmarked for anticipated administrative expenses. This raises the question: how did this level of corruption go unnoticed for so long? The answer lies in the systemic nature of the misconduct. The investigation revealed payments made to intermediaries who, in turn, funneled the money to public officials as bribes. These bribes were used to improperly influence decisions related to consultancy contracts tied to the project. Collaborative investigation. The World Bank didn't handle this investigation alone. INT worked closely with a team that included the task team leader, operations manager, program leader, and financial management specialists. Together, they mapped out the risks and identified steps to mitigate further embezzlement. To curb the risk, the project team introduced direct payments, eliminating the need for funds to pass through local accounts. This measure ensured tighter control over the remaining funds. The Central Bank of Nigeria's reimbursement of $22 million marked an initial step toward accountability, but much more work remains to be done. Holding culprits accountable. The investigation didn't stop at recovering the funds. The World Bank imposed serious sanctions on those involved. The Chief Suspension and Debarment Officer, SDO, identified a Nigerian individual responsible for corrupt practices. This individual admitted to making 2 illegal payments through an intermediary to a public official. These payments were designed to manipulate decisions surrounding a consultancy contract. As a consequence, the individual received a debarment with conditional release for a minimum of 2 years and 1 month. While the individual's cooperation and claims of coercion by a public official were considered mitigating factors, the sanctions send a clear message: corruption will not go unchecked. A pattern of misconduct. This case in Nigeria is part of a broader pattern. The World Bank Sanctions Board also reviewed similar cases of fraud, corruption, and collusion in other countries during the same fiscal year. For instance, projects in Vietnam aimed at improving public transport and water management were also affected by corruption. These investigations relied on a mix of documentary evidence, testimonials, and hearings. What's clear is that corruption in development projects isn't limited to one country or sector. It's a global challenge that threatens to undermine progress in regions that need it most. The human cost of corruption. Corruption in Nigeria's water sector isn't just a bureaucratic failure. It's a tragedy for communities. Imagine the impact that $32 million could have had on improving water access, reducing disease, and boosting economic activity. In many parts of Nigeria, clean water remains a luxury rather than a basic right. Families are forced to rely on contaminated water sources, leading to preventable illnesses and even deaths. Every dollar embezzled represents a missed opportunity to uplift communities and improve lives. For a country already facing significant challenges in infrastructure, education, and healthcare, this scandal further exacerbates the struggle to achieve sustainable development. The way forward. So, what happens next? While the Central Bank of Nigeria's reimbursement of $22 million is a step in the right direction, it's far from sufficient. Structural reforms are needed to ensure that funds are used as intended. Here are some critical steps to consider. 1. Strengthening monitoring systems. The World Bank and other international organizations must implement stricter oversight mechanisms to track the allocation and use of funds in real time. 2. Enhancing transparency. Governments and institutions must embrace open data policies, allowing public scrutiny of how development funds are spent. 3. Holding leaders accountable. Both local and international stakeholders must work to ensure that those responsible for corruption face legal consequences. 4. Community involvement. Local communities must be involved in project oversight to ensure that funds benefit the intended recipients. Broader implications. This case also highlights the role of international institutions like the World Bank in holding governments accountable. The Sanctions Board's ability to impose penalties and demand reimbursements shows that corruption can be tackled when there's a strong commitment to transparency and accountability. However, it also raises questions about how these institutions can better collaborate with local governments to prevent corruption from occurring in the first place. The situation in Nigeria is a wake-up call. It reminds us that the fight against corruption is ongoing and requires collective effort. From global institutions to grassroots organizations, everyone has a role to play in ensuring that development funds reach their intended goals. Closing thoughts. At BreakingNews, we believe that shedding light on cases like this is crucial for creating a more transparent and equitable world. This $32 million scandal in Nigeria's water sector is a stark reminder of the challenges we face in the fight against corruption. But it's also an opportunity to push for meaningful change. What do you think needs to be done to prevent such incidents in the future? Share your thoughts in the comments below. If you found this video insightful, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe to BreakingNews for more in-depth analysis of global issues. Together, we can demand accountability and drive progress where it's needed most.